We can feed another 4,000 households across London through supplying to universities, to schools, to hospitals, and in doing so enable us to get food to a much broader section of society than we currently do.
In very practical terms, what we do is we run a weekly box scheme that serves around 1,400 customers in Hackney. We run a weekly organic farmers market, which serves an equivalent number of people. We also do some food growing ourselves here in Hackney. So we run a patchwork farm, and we also have a farm in Dagenham. But the majority of our produce comes from farmers in what we call the rural hinterland. So it's farmers in Kent and Essex. And so in total, we trade with around 25 or so farmers, and we feed around 6,000 people a week. Probably a decade ago now, we decided we were trying to help other groups to set up similar projects. So we launched something called our Startup Programme. And as a result of that, we helped, 10 or 15 other community-led box schemes to get up and running. And they have since sort of formed into something we're calling the Better Food Traders Network, which we also run. So we have the Better Food Traders Network, we have Growing Communities, who are a member of the Better Food Traders Network, and then we set up the Better Food Shed.
The Better Food Shed is a farmer-focused aggregator of agroecological produce. We supply vegetable schemes across London with produce from organic farms across the UK. We're farmer-focused in that we work with farmers to sell their produce for them. We work with them to build cropping plans together. So they are growing stuff for us that we need, and in exchange, we make a commitment to them to sell what they have. So we could feed another 4,000 households across London through supplying to universities, to schools, to hospitals, and in doing so enable us to get food to a much broader section of society than we currently do.
In terms of what we do here, we're creating work, we're creating good work, and we're building wealth here in this community that we're also based in. So, and I think our customers and our members get a pretty amazing deal too. We did a report recently with the New Economics Foundation, and this showed that for every £1 that a customer spends with us, it generates £3.70 more of public benefits to them personally, to the farmers, to the environment, and to the local economy.
On Sitopia Farm, we're growing a wide variety of different veg, fruit and flowers, including a lot of heritage varieties that are at risk of being lost. And we are trying to give Londoners a flavour of foods they might not have tasted before. So first of all, we're organic, so we don't use any kind of chemical fertiliser, pesticide, herbicide, anything like that at all. Secondly, we're no dig, so that means we try and disturb the soil as little as we possibly can. Farming this way helps with both climate adaptation and mitigation. So soil has enormous potential to store huge amounts of carbon, but only if certain conditions are there. So if the soil is full of life and different microorganisms, plants and animals, it's possible for the plants and the organisms in the soil to create a symbiotic relationship, which means that the carbon that the plants suck out of the air is actually channeled down and fixed in the soil, not just held within the plant itself, but fixed within the soil. So if you have healthy soil that's full of life, you get to by sort of looking after the soil and not disturbing it, then we can store huge amounts of carbon in the soil, which is huge when you're facing increasing temperatures in a sort of climate reality. We've been taught in the UK that the most important thing about food is the price, not the flavour, not how it was produced, not sustainability. And so we're having to produce food in this way and sort of change people's expectations of the food that they buy at the same time. The reality is we're in a cost of living crisis, and sustainable food costs more to produce than what you're going to be able to buy in Asda. So what we need is government policy that means that everybody can afford to buy healthy, sustainable food. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to, because otherwise economically it's very difficult to compete.
What we've got here is an economic system that is playing against everything that we're trying to do. We've got an economic system that's stacked against us, and we are basically pushing against that with this model that is economically viable, but we have to work really hard to make this work. And we could do with some help from people helping to level that playing field, and local authorities would be a key player in that.